Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. So we've got earnings season coming here in the MJ sector. We're already in the thick of it. So far, we've got reactions to OGI, Labs, Cron, and just now TLRY. Overall, bears have the lead, absolutely. Bearish reaction on Labs, bearish reaction on OGI. Cron had buying of the dip, but ended the day red. And TLRY right now is pretty much where we closed. Not much reaction. So CGC. It's now looking like in hindsight that it was ETF buying on last week's Friday. And whenever I'm looking at some kind of move and wondering if it's ETF buying, number one, no hourly consolidation coming out of a downtrend on no news. And number two, and again, people talking about news, the vape stuff, none of that's significant to me in terms of seeing this kind of dollar volume reaction. But either way, when you see the action, literally a flip of a switch. The switch went on and it was all bulls, and then the switch was clearly off on Monday and there was absolutely no sign of any of that strength. So to just see one day of strength like that, that is when I always look to ETF rebalancing being the potential cause of it, and seeing that some of these positions were increased. Why did it make all the sector go up if not everybody was being bought by the ETF? Correlations with CGC being the biggest reason and other names responding to that. So bottom line, we've given it all back, 4-hour time frame. Big bull move up in one day, 2 days to give it back. We are trying to hold 1889, which is where the move started from. If we can hold that and get any kind of meaningful bounce tomorrow, we'll have a 4-hour equilibrium to be watching. But bulls better show up first thing tomorrow morning, because if we drop down and break 1889, the bears keep their complete control heading into CGC's earnings. I'd love to see things get as extreme as possible tomorrow, because I want to see hourly oversold conditions for one more bounce before earnings on CGC, as I do believe people would get in thinking it might be a discount and shorts would do some covering before earnings to lock in some of their profit. But we would need to see a pretty significant flush down under 1889 to have my interest in that kind of play. And it would just be a short-term day trade before earnings. So with a bearish reaction to earnings, we're going to be right back down at 1789. With a bullish reaction, we'll be looking up at 2168, but we still have a couple days until we get those earnings. So the reaction from Cron. Initially, we broke support on a bearish reaction into a very significant buying of the dip, where from the low of the day to the high of the day, there was some significant opportunity for those bulls. We went about, 12% or so before we started pulling back, and then we saw some weakness. So I was looking at the potential of needing hourly consolidation, and I said, okay, here's the first hour of trading. What are we going to need to see weakness? And I saw a 5-minute head and shoulders pattern, so posted that in the chat room and said, you know, if we lose this 5-minute uptrend, we're going to be watching for hourly consolidation to be underway. And on the break of 820, that was a signal. So I entered bearish on Cron, shorted some shares as Fidelity now has them available. And I entered after I saw this move. I saw a bull spike on no bull volume. I was looking for the lower high compared to 850. And as we started pulling back from that bull spike, I entered bearish at 826 and ended up exiting after just 1% of pullback. And in hindsight, the lesson and takeaway for me is set your stop loss at break even and let the bears do their thing that they've been doing very well for the last however many months, because there would have been some really nice follow through, and it would have been a nice day and a half maker as opposed to a half day maker. So that's my lesson. But where we stand now on Cron from this reaction, it's all about 760, and there's a potential playoff of 760 support if we start with a little bit of weakness tomorrow. On any bounce, we're looking for an hourly lower high compared to 850. How did we know 850 was resistance? Look at pre-market. What was the highest reaction we saw pre-market? 850 at 720, and then again 850 at 8 o'clock. And I don't believe it's a coincidence that that was our top to the penny, and then we lost the 5-minute uptrend. So bears keep in control here on Cron. Where are we looking now on the daily? If we break 760, the low of the reaction, 740, will be on tap. ACB, Still holding its sideways range, but heading down towards support. 350 is a must-hold level, and if it breaks, we're looking at 340. And we have a double top at 394 as our most important resistance. APHA, bear break. So we already broke the low of where we came from. 473, a one-day bull move. We didn't even change hourly trends on these names. That was our anti-FOMO. And good thing we had that anti-FOMO, knowing hourly trend change would be needed for any meaningful follow-through because it never happened. So we're now looking down at 468 as the next support. Low of today came right upon that. After 468 is 452. And the bulls are just hoping for a weekly higher low compared to where we came from, 423. Have to hold 423 and break 570 to change this weekly trend. But obviously that is not the direction we are currently heading. TLRY, so their reaction to earnings, pretty much going to put us at the, well, we'll see. There's a lot of time before the bell rings tomorrow. But right where we closed. So we're still looking down at the all-time low. We're hovering just above it, 2020, and the all-time low is just below 2020. And as far as resistance goes, anything under 2410 is just a daily lower high. HEXO, still seeing weakness, fading back down towards $2 support. Closed near the low of the day for the second day in a row. Bulls would have to hold $2 and break 240 to see any kind of momentum shift. OGI, bearish reaction and a big gap down. We did bounce right at support, 271. Bounced off of 270, so broke it by a penny, but we did end up closing weak. And let's see when that support was hit. So first thing in the morning, we opened and held 270 support, saw a very significant 10% plus move, and then gave it all back. Shorts are going to continue piling on to any bull move as long as it keeps working, and right now it's absolutely working. CTST, bear break getting some follow through. So 104 broke, weak bounce attempt, lower low. 77 cents is the only support, and 133 is still the most important resistance for me on the daily, although 108 is a short-term resistance now as well. T-God sideways still, bears in control. 92 and 91 support. Bulls have to break 118 to prove anything to us. And Labs, reaction to earnings, bearish. 442 support broke. We have lost the daily uptrend, and we're setting up for the inverse head and shoulders pattern on the weekly time frame. We have our left shoulder with resistance on the neckline at 549. There's our head. Here's our rejection from resistance at 547. And now we're pulling back to form the right shoulder, have to form a weekly higher low and break 550 to break those two resistances and be looking back at the all-time high. So it's short-term game over for the bulls with this big sizable pullback, but not on the weekly chart. We'll see how much pullback we get before the bulls can shift this momentum to try and form that weekly higher low. And VFF, bear break. So the fact that we changed the daily trend for the first time in a couple months and then go straight into a bear break is a red flag. 761 is the only nearby support, and we actually broke that today. Not enough follow through just yet, but we closed at the low pretty much. So if 757 breaks tomorrow, that's the bears getting follow through, and we're looking right back at 650. Weekly time frame has to hold 650 and break 890 to change the weekly trend, and it's going to be earnings that are going to dictate whether we head back to 650 or back up towards 890. Onto the USMJ space, we had some upgrades out there today, and some names responded to it, but there was a sell-off in the sector all morning into the end of the day. Cron bounce got sold off, OGI bounce got sold off, and the USMJ space saw some weakness as well. TRUL, volume is notable. Definitely an uptick in bear volume, so I want to zoom in and see when did it happen. So I can see 18,000 was right at the end of the day. But that is notable bear volume. Some of it was bullish, although that's looking like it was a different day. So forget that. So looking at today's volume, a lot of that was bearish. So daily uptrend, 1340 is our higher low on the daily. We're still in an uptrend, but due to the size of this pullback, we could now see a bounce of 10% and just get to resistance. So if we only bounce 5% from a new daily higher low, we could then set a lower high. We have to be cautious of the loss of the daily uptrend here, with volume being the biggest reason why we're now definitely paying attention. Hourly time frame is oversold, or it actually was down at the low of the day. We did see a bit of a bounce, so not just yet. But if we are going to head down tomorrow first thing and test this 1340 support, the hourly RSI will be oversold, and it will be a potential bottom fishing play to be keeping an eye on. But again, we will be looking for the potential of a lower high to form, and it's looking like some profit taking is taking place heading into earnings. Curaleaf had a very bullish reaction, up over 10% today to some of that upgrade. 740 is the resistance we keep pounding the table on. We topped out at 730 and closed at the low of the day with a huge pullback. Again, bears are going to continue shorting this space as long as it continues working really well. From the high of the day to the low of the day, we pulled back over 10% in just a few hours. Gave back the entire move, and if 650 breaks, we're looking down at 636, and it's just a daily lower high. CWeb earnings, when are they? Tonight? Tomorrow? So CWeb earnings are coming up. The daily bear flag confirmed as we drop to a lower low. And now we're just looking back at levels from a long time ago. And we're looking down at 1228 as the next level, as the weekly time frame, clearly weak and bearish, following through. IAN, weak bounce on the daily. And we're right back down to 173. If 173 breaks, the daily downtrend continues. We never changed the daily trend. We never formed a higher low and higher high. So just like CGC sees a huge move in one day on the hourly time frame with no consolidation and no trend change that faded and gave it all back, IAN is similar. If we don't change the trend, we do not continuously put pressure on shorts, we do not see sustained buying of dips showing bulls entering on higher lows. And if we see this bear break of 173, we're looking right back down to the lowest price we've seen of 152. It was an awesome bounce, but we're giving it back. CL, still hovering, still within striking distance of 889 resistance. If we break that level, it'll be notable, but anything above 747 is a daily higher low. Healthy contained low volume consolidation at the moment, but we still have to break that resistance to prove anything. OH had a huge pullback, and the volume on the daily is very insignificant, but it was almost like I expected this to be news because you have no volume all day, and then you just see this big bear volume, and you could say, yeah, it's just stop triggering, but that volume didn't really start. I guess you could say it just started once that support broke, but either way, it's a quick waterfall. I did try to make an oversold bounce play. As soon as I put my bid in, the bounce started, and I then pulled my bid and did not get filled at the weakness at the end of the day, because if I'm not going to get filled on the initial waterfall when I want to, I don't want to get filled after a bear flag. So we are looking for a daily higher low compared to 363. Hourly RSI, are we oversold? Not yet. If we drop tomorrow first thing into the lower $4 range, could be watching for an hourly oversold bounce to potentially give us the higher low. But again, bears, anybody shorting OH after a big bull move, easily making some money. I don't know if I used to talk about it in these videos, but I talked about it in the crypto videos. It's akin to what we need to see is bears getting punched in the mouth. Bears getting faked out with it looking like a clear bear entry straight into a bull break to squeeze shorts. And that has to happen, and the bulls have to get aggressive for that to happen. And again, I just cannot stress the importance enough of how higher lows and higher highs are needed to see that shift in supply and demand of shares and that shift in comfortability from bears to bulls. So GTII, bull move this morning, big upper wick of profit taking. We know anything under 1186 is just a lower high on the daily chart. And if we break the low of today, tomorrow, 1088, we'll be looking back down towards our low. Do we still have an hourly uptrend? Yes. Potential hourly equilibrium if we bounce first thing tomorrow morning, as it's a pretty wide range between those levels. HARV, clear bull break today. In a different market environment, this would have all of our attention, because 386 breaking on a nice spike in bull volume is very notable. $4 is the next resistance, followed by 452. This is the first shift on the daily time frame we've seen in a very long time for HARV, which was one of the weaker USMJ names for a while. But again, it's not the market environment that bulls are getting excited about. 350 is the most important support. We held 353 at the end of the day, and bulls want to keep this move going over 394 to try and get some trend change follow through. MedMen fading back down towards the all-time low, And that's it. So bears, still confident. We're not getting any bullish earnings reactions at this point. CGC is going to have to hit it out of the park. If they don't, we are going to be watching recent lows in the sector, which can definitely be broken to lower lows. Until we see volume and trend changes. We got volume Friday, didn't get trend changes. Till we see both of those things happening, we will continue to watch this trend. And as long as the bears continue to have it easy, they're going to continue taking the easy trades. And it's up to the bulls to make things no longer easy. And retail is probably not going to be the ones to do that because they are already holding lots of bags. And it will likely be institutions that step in and say, okay, these levels are fair enough value that we want to start establishing longer term positions. And until that happens, it will continue to likely be easy for bears. So hope you have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks again. Do good things. I'm going to go back here at the end of the video to Colorado from 6 months ago. We just got the first snowfall this morning here. Just an eighth of an inch that melted real quick, but brought me back to the last time I was in snow in Colorado. See you tomorrow.